Hey everyone, I'm Russ Frushtick, and today I'm going to be walking you through some of my favorite games of 2016. Now, I know some of you have seen all of these games. You've probably seen trailers, maybe you played them, so you probably know what the games look like. So I thought I'd go a different route. I'm an artist, as you may or may not know. I'm very talented. Today, I've decided to show off my talents in the form of Microsoft's Paint program. Unfortunately, I lack a stylus, so I'm going to be using this mouse to portray some of my favorite games of 2016. Hopefully it works out. First up, we have Doom. Obviously, a lot has been said about Doom. I'm a big fan of Doom as a game. Part of the reason I love it so much is that it kind of takes this idea of the mindless shooter mechanics that we've seen over and over again, time and time again, but makes it feel much more hands-on, literally, where you're reaching into the giant eyeball of a, I don't know, what do they call cacodemon, something like that. They nailed the feeling of going from one enemy to the next better than any like arcadey shooter I've ever played. And a lot of that has to do with this mechanic of the, the visceral kills, as it were. It's weird. Doom's a weird game because it has this really fun, energetic, exciting campaign. The multiplayer is pretty not good, but that's okay because the campaign for me has just been a nice palate cleanser. There's a lot of like realistic, thoughtful, super gritty shooters out there, and playing Doom where demons are just invading for no reason feels kind of just like a breath of fresh air. I found that I would play it on weekends just to sort of unwind, and it felt kind of like transporting back in time. So I absolutely adore Doom, and is definitely worth playing for anyone that loves shooters. Another one of my favorite games of 2016 is Dishonored 2. Happens to be another game from Bethesda. For what it's worth, they make some good games. I love Dishonored 1. I thought it was an excellent game. It was probably my game of the year that year. And I just finished Dishonored 2 about a week ago. And it really felt like everything that they nailed in the first game with regards to the gameplay. And they started dipping their toe into the world building, which I thought was really well handled in the first game. That was just taken up a notch in this second game. Visually, I think from an art design standpoint, it's one of the prettiest, if not the prettiest game I've ever seen. They do environments unlike any other game. The level of detail, the level of attention that goes into making like a slummy back alleyway or like some accountant's office in the middle of Dunwall is staggering. And they clearly put a lot of care and thought into this world, making it feel like a breathing world, a world that you could actually like see people living in, rather than just kind of like a lifeless, like, oh, this room is where guards stand for no reason for hours at an end. Obviously, the gameplay is very, very good. They made some enhancements that suit my play style, which is I play stealthy, I play non-lethally, and they made a lot of additions to the game that clearly cater to that. Whereas in the first game, you basically had to kill people using most of the powers. Here, a lot of the powers can be used either lethally or non-lethally, and silently or not. So that's really awesome as well. It's certainly not without some faults, but overall, I think just the level of attention and a level of care and loving that went into the creation of this game comes through really loud and clear for me. Two levels in particular, the Clockwork Mansion and A Crack in the Slab, from a level design standpoint, are some of the most impressive levels I've ever seen in a video game. And if you like games in general and you want to just like see incredible level and world design at work, Dishonored 2 is the perfect example of that. It really is outstanding. Another one of my favorite games of 2016, I'm probably going to catch a lot of shit for. Sorry. It's Pokemon Go. I do not play Pokemon Go anymore, but I played Pokemon Go for about 3 months straight. And I realize full well that it is not a great game. A lot of the mechanics are stupid. Gym fighting is pretty awful and continues to be pretty awful. But I really need to give credit to a game that literally changed the way people live. I realize it's not the phenomenon that it used to be, but for at least a month after it came out, my entire neighborhood was transformed into a place where people talk to strangers in the park. Granted, probably not a good idea for kids, but just like interacting with people that they don't know at all, sharing a friendly smile with another person that you know is playing the game, getting excited about a rare spawn or something nearby. There were parts in Manhattan or places in Manhattan that were completely dominated by Pokemon Go. Central Park became this amazing place where people would come together and race in groups from rare spawn to rare spawn. And that, I mean, I feel like my favorite games of the year, generally when I look back, it's always the games that like stuck with me and memorable moments that I had. And while the actual playing of the game might not have many memorable moments, the experience of walking around and interacting, you know, going and getting groceries with my wife and us both seeing a Chansey and getting very excited and going off to chase the Chansey, like that's stuff that just doesn't happen normally in video games. And while it's still very successful and still many people play it, for those few months where it felt like everyone in the world was playing it, it was just incredible. And I definitely need to give credit to that. Another one of my favorite games of 2016 is a game, I don't even know if this is a game necessarily. It's more like a demo, but it's a long demo. It's an hour long. And the game is called Superhot VR. I didn't play it until very recently. I played it for the first time about 2 weeks ago using the Oculus Touch. If you have watched Polygon's review of the Oculus Touch, you actually see the very first time I played it and my reaction, which was 100% genuine and not bullshit. Superhot VR obviously is similar to Superhot, another game that came out this year, in that it's a first-person shooter where time does not advance unless you're moving. In the normal game, how that manifests is like you move around with a controller, and as you take steps, enemies are able to move, you know, and fire at you while you're moving. But if you stand still, time essentially stops. That's very cool. The original game is very cool. The VR version of the game sort of works even better, where all of your movements, all of your hand movements, head movements, firing, what have you, counts as moving in the game, as it were. So you end up having these moments where people are firing at you and you're like dodging out of the way, Matrix style, and picking up a bottle on the side and throwing a bottle at someone's head. And no joke, there's a moment where I punched a guy in the face and his gun flew up into the air and I caught it in midair and like took out a guy that was like behind a cabinet nearby that was like ready to shoot me. And I've never played a game that made me feel like John Wick or like any other action hero. Superhot makes you feel that way. It's also really cool because it's a VR game that's actually a game. It's not just a cool experience, even though it is a very cool experience. There's strategy, there's thought. How do I get through this encounter without getting shot? And as the game progresses, it gets much, much harder. So I 100% think that this is one of the few VR games that's more than just, hey, this is a quirky little goofy experience. There's like actual skill involved. So I really appreciated that as well. Definitely give it a shot because for my money, it is the best VR experience I've ever had. Last game on my list, and this is by no means totally comprehensive. There were a ton of amazing games this year, but one of the games that really stands out to me is a game called Severed. I feel like a lot of people didn't play this game. I certainly didn't come to it until pretty late. Part of it is just because it's kind of a hard game to wrap your head around. Best I can explain it is it's like a first-person RPG in the style of those old Ultima games, mixed with the boss fight mechanics of a game like Punch-Out. It's a very, very cool game designed by the folks that did Guacamelee, and they did Mutant Blob's Attack, two amazing games on Vita. This game also came out on Vita. It recently came out on iOS as well. There's a lot of thought that went into this game. It seems to do something that I haven't really seen done very often, which is make combat in an RPG feel much more engaging. They integrate these mechanics and difficulty spikes that don't feel cheap, They feel thoughtful, where you're building a strategy. Oh, how do I take out this enemy, followed by this enemy, followed by this enemy? It's just a really, really cool game with a groovy art style, like hand-drawn, polygonal, like creepy, weird color palette, and just a really outstanding, super cool experience that I feel like a lot of people missed. But if you dig RPGs and maybe you're bemoaning that there are no amazing games on Vita anymore, Severed is absolutely one of them. It's one of the best games I've played on Vita and one of my favorite games of 2016. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed my very accurate depictions of some of these games. I think they're pretty spot on. If you have any other games that you really dug, leave them down in the comments. I feel like I'm always looking for awesome games that maybe didn't get enough attention. And I'd love to see some of your picks. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, Russ Frushtick. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in 2017.
I'll send someone down in like 10 minutes.
Oh my god.
I don't think he can hear you.
Oh, now we're talking. What up? That's spectacular. This is amazing.